In order to avoid a dishonorable discharge, you must take down that cross. The judge's voice reverberated across the courtroom, causing a startled stillness to descend. His shaking, angry finger was aimed directly at an adorned tomb guard's chest. The silver cross in his pocket gleams in the darkness like a defiant spark as he remains motionless in his immaculate outfit. Until today, no one had dared to doubt the honor of those who guarded the slain. Sergeant David Kessler remained unfazed. He maintained the same uncompromising stance that he did each and every day at Arlington. He was unmoved by heat, snow, or rain. And this wouldn't now. The judge reiterated the demand while trembling and flushed. "Soldier, this is a federal courtroom. That cross violates both public neutrality and the Uniform Code." The gallery was filled with gasps. A few gave approving nods. Others turned away in embarrassment. David, however, remained silent. He didn't have to. Everything he was unable to say was expressed by the cross, which was suspended on a single metal pin. It wasn't ornamentation. It was a recollection. According to the court records, he was disobedient, unruly, and even dangerous, all as a result of one silent act of faith. However, nobody bothered to inquire as to why he wore it. The judge, a former military advisor who is now a civil rights activist, had brought the complaint himself. He asserted that the cross isolated the non-religious populace from a common national emblem and fostered bias. The unidentified soldier's grave is revered. He advocated for sacrifice alone. No faith, no flag, no face. However, he overlooked the irony of silencing the man who stood in the rain to keep it safe. Ever since the funeral, David has worn that cross during every shift. Private Jacob Kessler, his brother, had perished overseas in an explosion that left just his name on a stone. The only item found in the field was that cross, which belonged to him, burned and bent, but whole. As David promised him, "I would make sure he never forgets you." David didn't wear the tomb guard for religious reasons after passing the prestigious selection process. He wore it in honor of Jacob and all the voiceless names. However, the lawsuit was unconcerned. The legislation simply asked if, not why. Cameras were everywhere in the courthouse during the trial. The tale was portrayed by some networks as an insurrection against military control. Some referred to it as a battle against tradition. Along the steps were protesters, half holding crosses and the other half holding signs that said, "Keep church and state separate." On the inside, though, David said nothing. The living statue of duty is stoic. David didn't speak until the penultimate day, when the judge gave him one last opportunity to take down the cross. This has nothing to do with religion. This has nothing to do with protest. Millions of people will never be able to identify the one soldier being remembered. There is no preaching on this cross. It's a pledge. The courtroom fell silent. He then carefully reached into his coat and took out a letter that had been folded, worn, and yellowed. A notification of casualties. Without reading a word, he held it up. "My brother received a medal instead of a grave. And this?" He gave the cross a tap. "He can't wear it. So I do." Nobody made a move. Not even the judge, not the cameras, and not the Clarks. The video smashed over the airways outside like a thunderclap. The news went viral across the nation in a matter of hours. Families of the deceased, veterans organizations, and even religious leaders from many faiths expressed their opinions. It's about remembering, not religion. The internet was ablaze with hashtags. He was allowed to wear it, and it was popular for days. A public statement was released by the Department of Defense in response to mounting pressure. Under ceremonial circumstances, symbolic objects worn by tomb guards that are directly connected to personal grief do not deviate from uniform norms. The judge's order was essentially overturned by the decision, but it went farther than that. The judge attempted to make his intentions clear after being made to defend himself on national television. He was clearly cornered when he stated, "I was defending the separation of church and state." But the harm had already done. He didn't realize that he had taken away meaning in an attempt to preserve neutrality. David went back to work for a wreath-laying ceremony a week later. The silent honor guard was seen on camera with flawless posture, continuous motion, and the cross still resting proudly and immaculately on his chest. There was no protest this time. Rather, as David went by, a young child in the audience saluted. A tear was wiped from his mother's face. A wheelchair-bound elderly guy said behind them. His brother must be proud. Remember to leave a remark with your city or nation as we come to a close. Tell us where you're watching from, please. Therefore, a symbol may not always be related to religion, politics, or power. Sometimes it's about preserving the names when even the faces are gone, about love, or about remembrance. And sometimes a single soldier who is courageous enough to remain still is all that is needed to bring a divided country together. Please click the like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts on this story below if it touched you.